Konnichiwa and welcome to episode 51 of the Leadership Japan series. And I'm your host in Tokyo, Dr. Greg Story, President of Dale Carnegie Training Japan. And much more importantly, you are a student of leadership, highly motivated to be the best in your business field. If you enjoy the program, then you might consider subscribing on iTunes. Also, if you'd like to own your own access to 102 years of the accumulated wisdom of Dale Carnegie Training through free white papers, guidebooks, reports, training videos, blogs, course information, plus much, much more, then go to japan.dalecarnegie.com. In fact, the judges are definitely going to ask nasty questions, trust me. That's their job. But in business, you will have people from a rival division, rival part of the group. Your personal rival is going to ask a nasty question that's going to make you look bad. That's the objective. We're going to talk about that when we get to Q&A at the end, how to deal with that too. So, needs versus wants. So, this is very critical. What the audience may want, what they may need, may not be the same thing, because you may have discovered additional things. For the client particularly, they're looking for something. The client said, we want you to do this piece of work, and they're going to give a presentation from you to them on this. So this is what we want. But what you may have found is something that they need to know that they haven't thought about. And that's really the value of JMEC, that you can actually be someone who's going to be able to present something that they haven't even considered. Really something fresh and new and innovative. So look for that. And then, what are the goals? The judges' goals are to have stimulating, sparkling, fantastic presentations. They're going to keep them on the edge of their seat right through a couple of days of marketing. That's their goal. So don't bore them, right? And most audiences, as I said, only 3% of the presentations they see are stimulating. So we've got to make sure that you are all in that 3% that the judges are going to see. So we talk about, defining the structure and how will we open, what are the key points, what's the proof, what examples will we use, what proof will we draw. Then your PowerPoint should show that, and if you're using PowerPoint, keep it very, very brief. You can even have just photographs and no words, actually. So visual images might be just all you need, one word. A photograph of one word may be all you need. I attended professional development, executive training at Harvard Business School, and one of the professors, they had a type of pit-style auditorium, and at the back wall, he'd written 10 words, and for 3 hours, he lectured. No notes, but he had his 10 words on the back wall, which was his 3-hour lecture, because each of those words represented a piece of his talk. And that kept him in order. No PowerPoint, just way we went. So the same thing, PowerPoint can be like that. PowerPoint can be one word that stimulates in your mind, this is what I need to talk about now. And here's the next image, picture, with one word, or even no word. Well, that picture represents that, I'll talk about that. So it doesn't have to be masses of data, masses of text. It can be something that is a hint for you, and something that's interesting to look at. Or it could be graphic, it should be showing graphs or whatever. But think about how you want to organise that. And then the flow of ideas should have a logical progression. That would be ideal, so it's a bit easy to follow. So, what is the purpose of the presentation? Now, the one we're going to do is to convince and persuade, is the first one. Convince the judges that your team has got the best business plan amongst all the business plans, which is going to have the most impact for the client, which is going to build the JMEC brand to the absolute maximum possible. That is your objective. In this case, it's convince and persuade. Now, it mightn't be that, though. You might be giving presentations in the company, which are just to inform. Just give out information, give lots of data. What is it? It might be to motivate people. We want to get people to take some action. We want people to do something. Not just give them the data, we want some follow-up, we want some commitment, we want some sign-on, we want some flesh in the game. Money on the table, we want something to happen. That's a totally different type of presentation. Or it might be just something that's entertaining. Something that, they don't get any particular information, but they feel very good about it. So you need to, at the beginning, at the beginning I should say, of your talk, look at, now what am I trying to achieve here? Which of these is it? And therefore, I'm going to derive my presentation around those key points. So the basic structure has changed a bit. When I first entered business, I was told, oh, presentation. Tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them. And tell them what you just told them. That's what you were taught. That's how you put a presentation together. We haven't gone too much further than that, but we start now with an opening that really breaks through, grabs attention, gets people listening to you. We go into our points and we back them up with evidence. Point evidence, and then we come out with a close at the end. And this is, again, it's in your manuals. So we talk about what are the key points. Again, get those down, grab the attention, have the evidence to back up the key points, and closing is last impression. So first impression, last impression. And for this particular case, when you with the judges, when you walk in that door and you're going to start your presentation has begun. From the moment you hit that door, your presentation, how you conduct yourself, how you walk around, set up, whatever it is you're going to do, that is already started the presentation. It's already begun. So think about how you're going to do that. So you come and you look very professional. Set up very quickly, everything done very nicely, everyone's standing out, looking very, very proper, very professional. And then last impression, the last thing you say, how you look at the end, makes a big difference. So plan that. Don't leave first impression and last impression to chance. Because they're so critical, particularly first impression, plan it. The same in business. We make snap judgments about each other. We form impressions of others very quickly. And we are very slow and we are very reluctant to change that first impression. We might, but we'll make a snap judgment about someone just by the way they're dressed. I don't like those yellow laces on his shoes. And he's got a purple bag. He's got no colour sense at all. So he's got red as well. You know, we're making a snap judgment about someone based on what we see. Could be totally wrong. But we've already made that judgment. And then as we get to talk to the person, we start to unwind that first impression perhaps, or usually no. So if that's the case, then don't allow a first impression to be a chance thing. Plan it. Make sure it is a very positive first impression. And the last impression, last thing you say, ringing in the judge's ears is very critical. Determine what that will be. So here's a little start with the opening. Now, I think in your manuals, this is, where is this? This is in the opening section there somewhere. You can find that on page, where are we? On page 3.2. Okay, 3.2. So I'm going to ask you to give a presentation today. The presentation topic is why you should do JMEC. Talking to prospective JMEC participants. You've done it. Why should you do JMEC? That's your topic. I'll give you the topic so it's all consistent. And you know the subject because you've been through JMEC, you're experts. Now, the oh my there is a startling beginning. It's something that's a bit surprising. As you said before, start with something that's a bit surprising because it grabs our attention. Now, it might be a particular fact, it might be some incident, it might be some information that we don't know that really grabs our attention. Think about what that might be. Then a puzzle. Puzzle is something that gets people thinking. It might be through a question you ask that they start to mentally take that on board. Here's a good question. Let me see. Okay. What month is your birthday? May. Congratulations. Now, the moment I asked him that question, no matter where he was mentally, whether he was still with me in this presentation or he has the eyes open, but he's actually escaped to some other place, thinking about lunch, thinking about a hot date this afternoon, thinking about get to the gym. Wherever he went, when I asked him that question, I pulled him back to me. So questions as a speaker are very powerful. If you're losing your audience, hit them with a rhetorical question or even a specific question. Rhetorical are good because they're never quite sure whether they should answer or not. Do I have to answer this question? Or is this just a rhetorical question? It's a bit vague, I'm not quite sure. You hit hit them with a rhetorical question which may or may not require an answer. Bang, you've got them back in the room. So that's where a puzzle could be around a question. An event, it could be describing something that happened that gets us straight into an event. It was the last 100 metres and he fell down dead just before the finish line. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what happens to many people in their careers as they get into positions of authority, and at the vital moment when they need to go to that next step, their presentation skills are not good enough to convince the board to give them the top job. And it's like they've died in their careers at that point. We are not going to let that happen to you in your careers, because JMAC has got presentation skills in the agenda today to make sure that you go all the way to the top. So you can bring something in, no nonsense, just straight into it. Thank you very much for coming today. We are going to discuss presentation skills, and I'm going to take you through 3 critical steps that are going to get you in front of people and come away as someone they regard as a very professional, very competent speaker. Boom, just like that. So please take a moment individually, plan out how you're going to open your speech today on why you, this person, should do JMAC. Please take a couple of moments and plan that. Way to go. I'm going to give you a couple more moments, but your opening will not be very long. Okay, it's not going to be like 5 minutes of opening. It's going to be a couple of sentences, and then you're into the main body, basically, of where you're introducing the talk. So it's trying to smash through the clutter, the competition for people's attention that exists when they are in the room. Okay? As soon as they come into the room or are already there, you turn up, their minds are already saturated, totally saturated. You have got to get into their heads. How are you going to open in a way that's going to allow you to do that and get their full attention? So I'll give you about 1 more minute, and then we'll try them with each other and see how they work. Okay, just practice with each other and get a bit of feedback. The feedback will be 2 things. It will be what was good and how to do it better, right? So that's the only feedback we're going to give. So we're going to practice with each other a little bit, just to practice the opening, see how they sound. Don't make them too long, all right? I'll give you a little bit more time, then we do the practice. All right, let's wrap it up there. And please, just where you're seated at your table, each person give their opening, and the person who's listening to the opening gives some feedback. So we're at a table of 3. The other 2 people can see feedback. What was good about that opening? How could they make it better? And then each person take a turn and share. Anyone have any questions? We all good with that? Oh, here's the first question. We all good? Okay, please, as teams, help each other. Good, better, give some feedback, practice your openings. Go, please. Pull it up there. We've still got other things to do today, so we'll pull it up there. So with your opening, you've managed to get through that, which is great. Now we are going to go into the main body. If you have a look in your manuals, you'll see on pages 3.4, 3.5, it talks about the acronym DEFEATS, D-E-F-E-A-T-S, which is really to help you about evidence. I said before that your content, your critical points need to be backed up with evidence, because just because you say something does not make it true. You make any statement of any time, people will doubt it. Particularly if you're in sales. If you're in the business of getting people to take action or trying to persuade them, it's not just an inform or an entertaining mode. If you're in that sales mode of I'm trying to persuade you of something, or I'm trying to motivate you to take some action, and you just make a blanket statement, people will be doubtful about that. They will doubt what you say. Well, that's what you say, because you want me to do something. So you need to have evidence. Now, this idea, the evidence might be a demonstration. Now, particularly in JMAC, where depending on your product, you may have a physical product. I had a very exciting client once, where they had product was a pump. A pretty groovy product, you know, a pump. Now, we brought some pumps. We brought some micro pumps, and we brought some very large pumps that are used in big machines in the food industry. And we had them on the desk so that people could see this is what the pump looked like. Or another case, they were bags, they were knapsacks, and this sort of had different ranges of them. So bringing examples, or if you can demonstrate something that proves the point that you're making. Or there could be just facts. There could be, provable facts. There might be some exhibits that you show, or some statistics that you can use. All of these things be an analogy. Now, an analogy is a great methodology of taking something that is rather complex and presenting it in a way that is very simple for the person hearing it. So you're comparing two things which are totally unlike, but you're drawing them together in a way that makes something rather difficult more readily understandable. Now I'll give you an analogy, so a simple one. I'll put two things together. I'll put flying a Boeing, or let's fly an airline, not a Boeing or an Airbus, we won't get into brand promotion here. Flying an airliner and public speaking. Now flying an airliner, public speaking do not seem to have any necessary connection. However, I'm going to connect them through an analogy. And the analogy is this. Giving a public presentation is like flying an airliner. The takeoff point when you're flying an airliner and the landing point are the critical points in that flight. When you are presenting, your opening, grabbing that initial attention, your closing, final impression are the critical make or break points for your presentation. So there's an example of an analogy. I've compared flying an airliner with giving a presentation. No necessary connection, but it makes it very clear. Oh yeah, takeoff, that's right, people crash on takeoff. Oh yes, people crash on landing. Yes, I know that. I can see why that's very critical. First impression, last impression. Yeah, I get that. So this is where I'm using analogies. And finally, testimonials and statistics. If you can quote an authority, someone that's recognised in the industry of the field, this is what they said. It backs up what you're saying. We use Warren Buffett all the time. If you go on our website, you'll see lots of stuff from Warren Buffett about how great Dale Carnegie training is, because he did it when he was in his 20s, changed his career. He said, "It changed my life. It changed my life." That's his testimonial. How would you like to have your company have the richest investor, most successful investor of all time say your service or product changed his life? That's what we've got. So we are using that all the time to show how great we are, and the proof of what we do, how it works. So you're looking for that. Or it might be a statistic. It might be something, again, like a fact or a statistic that's very provable. So next stage now, in your manuals, you have on page 53.5, it goes in a little bit more detail there. But we just go back one onto page 3.3. There are some points there. It asks you to list up some points. So what I'd like to do now is ask you to list up some points that you're going to make in your speech. Your speech, by the way, is only going to be 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Okay, so it's not a long speech. 2 minutes on why you, prospective participant, should do JMET. Okay, that's your topic. So you got your opening. Now, what are the key points you're going to make and the proof? Point proof, point evidence. And you can use this idea of analogies, examples, or facts, or whatever you've got to make that more credible with your audience. So get down some points. You're probably not going to get through too many. 2 minutes, you get 2 or 3. It's probably going to be enough for a 2-minute talk, giving you your opening and giving you closing. Does anyone have the first question? If we're good on questions, please get down your points and some evidence. Go. Up there, because you will get a chance to practice, and when you're doing it, you'll find you can flesh out those words. Now we're going to look at how we're going to close it out. So we use the analogy CLOSE, or the acronym, I should say, not analogy, close. So C, you might say something at the end that challenges your audience. Put some call to action to them maybe, or something that asks them to do something that's really going to get them thinking. It might be a repeat of what you said at the beginning. You come back and you highlight a particular point. So you sort of tie the front and the end together very tightly. As I said in the beginning, blah, 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 blah. Right? Could be something like that. Offer some benefit. What is the benefit of them taking your advice, taking some action? What's in it for them? So it's not just about you, it's about them and benefit, not just a feature. Okay? be a very tight summary of the key points again, to make sure people remember what the key points were. Or it could be something very exaggerated and dramatic. Again, last impression, something that really sticks with people. Okay. So think about how you're going to close out this talk now, this 2-minute talk on why you should do JMEC. How will you close it out so you have a very strong, positive, final impression of you, representing your organisation, representing yourself on this topic. Okay, please go ahead and design that. Design your close, please. Then we'll get up and we'll practice beginning, content, and close. Right? Real good? You're going to get a chance to run through the whole thing in a moment. So, opening, key points, evidence, close, the whole thing in a moment. We'll get some feedback on that as well. Before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about Q&A. Now, you will have Q&A, of course, with the judges. There's going to be questions coming from the judges. So I'll address that first, and then I'll talk about Q&A in general. As a group, when you're presenting, here's my recommendation. Forget about democracy. Forget about, there's half an hour, there's 5 of us, so we'll all have, 6 minutes each. Forget about that. If you want to win, find your best presenters. Probably maximum 3. It splits the judge's attention too much to have more than 3. You get at least 10 minutes each, which is a substantial amount of time to actually get some rapport built with the judges. I recommend, if you've got someone who's very good, 1 person or possibly 2 people. 2's nice, there's a bit of change. Democracy says everybody, that's fine if you don't want to win. Right? That's up to you. So I recommend you try that. Look for your best presenters. Go for the people who are going to have the best impact with the judges, and possibly 2, max 3, I think. Now, when you get questions, have the gatekeeper, have the navigator. Question comes in from the judge, like a missile. Don't take it directly. Someone will receive the question from the judge. Thank you very much. I think that Jane is the best person to answer that question. And in the moment, because you will have prearranged this, so Jane knows if it's on this topic, Jane's going to get the question. So as soon as the question comes out, Jane knows this is mine. But you are giving Jane valuable seconds to compose her mind, compose her thoughts, before she gives the answer. I think Jane will be the best. Jane, would you mind answering that question? It's only brief. Don't make it like, and now Jane, I want you to answer that question, but I think, yes, you are definitely better. Don't pad it out, right? Don't drive the judges nuts. Just a couple of seconds is enough, and then someone navigates who's going to do what, so that you don't look at each other. And if it sort of comes out of left field as no one's really covering that, you might be the person to answer it, or you just throw it to someone. But you're going to tell them, well, actually, that's a very interesting topic. I think that probably Bill is the one. So, Bill, no one knows who's going to get it, but you all know it's coming. So you're all ready to answer it if it's not in your designated topic. So that's what I recommend in terms of handling Q&A. Thank you for joining the Leadership Japan series. Remember, consider subscribing on iTunes, and to access your Dale Carnegie training free white papers, guidebooks, training videos, blogs, course information, plus much, much more, then go to japan.dalecarnegie.com.